time round, perhaps, Kasim, I'll start with you. The latest on the party nominations regulations crisis, where according to IEBC, no party has actually followed those particular requirements in terms of the party nominations. What's your take, especially since you represent the ANC party? And the calendar next year is definitely looking quite busy in terms of the party nominations. What's your take on this?
Well, you know, it is, I keep on referring to Michael Joseph when he said that there are peculiar habits, Kenyans have peculiar habits. Here is a situation where there is a deadline. Here is a situation where parties submitted their nomination rules. For my party, I can speak on behalf of my party. We did submit our rules within the timelines. And up to our last PG, that was on Tuesday, this week, we were very clear, if you read our press, that we had complied with all the regulations. And then later on, the chairman says all political parties never qualified, way past the deadline. I think, I don't know what this portends to when it comes to the law. I'm not quite sure. In fact, the little I know is that that was a deadline, such that you have either complied or you've not complied. I'm not quite sure of the law that is trying to say now you can redo them and resubmit, unless probably there is somebody that he wants to readmit who never qualified as per the deadline. Otherwise, to me, what a deadline means is that you are either in it or you are.
Well, a small challenge right there. I'm sure we'll have him back on the line. But he was definitely referring to the last-minute sort of nature of Kenyans in one way or the other, and sort of breaking down into what the ANC party did. Gloria Roba, on your side, I know you prescribe to the school of thought of UDA party, who interestingly did not meet the requirements according to IEBC as well, and they were directed to revise and submit their nomination regulations by Tuesday. I think that's the 16th of November. Your take on that, briefly?
I'm not so conversant with the process, with that particular process, but I was just wondering to myself, you know, we just passed, Justice Mrima actually just disqualified the minimum qualification of MCA, you know, according to Section 22 of the Election Act. And I've been waiting, maybe I'm actually behind and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but I've also been waiting to see then IBC's rules in terms of minimum qualifications, because I would assume, and I could be wrong, Jesse, but I would assume that should also guide some of the things when it comes to the political parties' nomination rules. I don't know whether you follow what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
so it just seems, it seems like a whole big confusion right there, because the moment we had the ruling of Section 22, Part 2 being declared unconstitutional, you would have imagined that IBC would have either given a notice or, you know, gazetted something stating that come 2022, we are going to follow this as minimum qualifications for all candidates, because I assume that should also guide what some of the rules of the political party nomination that we are supposed to submit. But again, I'm not an expert in that particular area. I would just say that, of course, as Kenyans, we have the last minute culture. You know, we were being pushed for the first time voters to go and register to vote. And only towards the very end, we're like, Minister, you know, we need time, extend for us time. And it kind of feels like the same thing when it comes to these political parties. I am a member of United Democratic Alliance, UDA. And yes, that's my political party. I was quite surprised to see that we are also one of the parties that were listed of having not met the deadline and the submissions for the party nomination. So, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what's happening there on that front. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Kasim, I understand you're back with us. Talk to us. You were just belaboring on your point earlier.
Yeah, exactly, Jesse. You know, to be told that none of the political parties complied with their nomination rules. Remember, some of the political parties have been there. They participated in the last general election. And then you would ask yourself, what is it that no legal minds, because in our party, we have a very strong legal team headed by a whole professor, but he could not pick that particular or those particulars from IBC that we will just not comply. And what is it that he will say now? None complied, and within 5 days, essentially 4 working days, they should have rectified and brought back. Remember, today is Friday. So Monday and Tuesday, we should have rectified. I don't know whether in some parties, whatever it is, when it is finally brought into public domain, it will need the ratification by the NDCs or by NEC, and it should be done in return. And assuming none then complies by that deadline given by Zefugati, which I don't think it is in any statute as I had initially stated. I tried to actually go through over it quite fast to see what governs the statement that is said, and I couldn't see anything in law. What happens if that deadline passes again and no political party has complied? Does it mean there will be no general election, or all of us will have to go independent? Probably, because that will be the only room left. So I think Chebukati is just trying to, I don't know. I'm seeing probably there could be some external forces into this as a politician. Otherwise, for some of the parties like NC, having submitted its nomination rules long way back to the point that the deadline passed, and our ED went on record to say, he told us, and that's what some of us said in the press last Tuesday, that we have complied because there was communication from the registrar of political parties that we've complied because we submit to the registrar. And here now we are told we've not complied in any way. I am reading some external forces, which certainly will not augur well. But our position as NC, can we have our general election on the 9th of August? We have complied. We want fair competition. We want IBC to conduct those elections in a free, transparent, and to be seen, to be fair. And we move on, Jesse.
Okay. Let's see if the parties actually prescribe to the requirements by the deadline, November the 16th, which is a coming Tuesday. But let's shift focus to the corridors of justice. Gloria, I was shocked. I don't know if you were shocked by the fact that the CJ, Martha Koome, actually was dissatisfied with the judgment and the decree at the High Court in terms of bypassing the president, or sidestepping him rather, in the appointment of those 6 judges who had been sidelined by the president for some time. She said she intends to challenge those orders that require her to take necessary steps to swear in the judges. Well, what's your reaction to that, even as we let the courts play it out?
You know, we celebrated the appointment of the CJ, particularly because she was a woman. And maybe we, personally, I also had some other kind of expectation for her. And I don't know, ever since she got in, and, you know, there have been a couple of things that have not started well. You know, perhaps the expectations was that she would come out really strong as being independent and having no influence from either side of political divide or the executive, you know. And for me, it's more of, I'm trying so much to just focus on the issue, but I can't get away from the fact that we celebrated her as the woman who got in as the first CJ woman. So I'm still kind of in shock in terms of how these events have been unfolding, her position in certain matters, and maybe just one of those issues where when you place so much expectation on a person and you really hope for we had so much hope on how she would handle certain matters. But on the issue of the first of all, you know, if we are going to go ahead and say that we are not respecting court orders, then, you know, it's like, for a long time, we've been pushing that our president actually, you know, follows the court orders. There are so many court orders that he has ignored, including the one that is sitting and saying that Miguna should be brought back to the country. And, you know, so as matters unfold, we are also sort of placing expectations on other leaders or other people that we expect would not follow that path. So I don't know, I have a mixed emotions on this matter, also because my expectations on the CJ as the first CJ woman were maybe way above what we put so much hope in her. And how the matters are unfolding is not what we necessarily, you know, expected.
Okay, we can't comment too much on that, Kasim, since it's a matter in court right now. Or you wanted to give your...
We cannot...
yeah, kindly continue.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We are not going to comment. I'm not going to comment on the pleadings before court.
Yeah.
I'm not going to I'm not going to peruse the summons and the pleadings and the replies. So I think we can generally say about this matter. Well, Jesse and our viewers, about our courts especially, I think there are some areas where they become overzealous. I'm not a lawyer, I have to put a disclaimer, but as a leader, as a legislator, before I make laws, somehow I have to get the basics of the law and try to get some understanding of the law. There are some things that a magistrate or a judge or any other person of that matter, I have to disclose. I've been a member of the Industrial Parties Tribunal for 2 terms. That means I was adjudicating on matters basically related to law on that act. And you cannot give a verdict or you cannot pronounce yourself on a matter that is not in law. It's just as that simple. When you look at the process of appointment of judges, and this you don't have to be a lawyer, the process is so clear to the point where the appointment is by the president and then swearing comes in. It is just that plain simple. And it says the president shall appoint. When it comes to shall, it is mandatory. Who? The president. So for the magistrate, for sure, to read something else or to come up with something else which cannot be read anywhere, and I would like to be shown if, for instance, those who pronounced themselves on that matter got it from some act or some law or some regulation, they can tell us. And I think for now, they have not been able to show us. Whether the president was right or wrong, not appointing him, it's a different matter. But now to take it to the Chief Justice to do it, when it is again not there in law, I think this is where our courts and our judges sometimes go too far. Gloria, you mentioned about the issue of our president not honoring court orders.
Yep.
That is very wrong. I cannot condone it. But there are some areas, I keep repeating, where you cannot actually just take it literally that you have to do it. On the matter of dissolving parliament, if the president was to take that court, the advisory from the former CJ and dissolve parliament, then what next after that? You can see we would have really landed ourselves into serious problems in this country. Yeah. And this should have concerned any Kenyan because we want this country to be governable, to be peaceful. So it is a balance between the two. But, well, it's still back in court. We'll still wait and see what the court will actually pronounce itself on this matter. But 2 wrongs certainly don't make a right.
All right. We might
although Kasim, maybe one, you can't say that on some matters it's difficult for the president to honor court orders and on others he will, because that's why we have the law, so that we don't get to choose according to ourselves and the strength that we think we have. That on this one, wacha nifuate. On the other one, now on the issue, he talked about dissolving parliament, which was an advisory because of the matter on the 2/3 gender rule. But when you look at all the other court orders that the president has not, like for instance, when the position of CAS was declared illegal and unconstitutional, we still had appointments coming after that for that same position. When we had NMS actually declared unconstitutional, NMS is still functioning as an entity with the goodwill of the president. He did not come out as a leader who is the law-abiding and follows court orders.
The appeals, Gloria.
And then when also we've had several court orders on the issue of Miguna, who's coming on November 16th.
Tuesday,
and the president has completely snobbed. And as a matter of fact, now Miguna is actually struggling to get the travel, whatever's left, so that he can be able to come to his own country where he is a citizen born in this country. So, so when the president decided on this issue of dissolving parliament, hiyo ni ngumu kidogo, what was he guided by? Is it the same thing that is guiding him on the issue of Miguna, hiyo ni ngumu kidogo? I mean, we can't operate like that. That's why we have a constitution. That's why we have laws, so that it's not upon me and my feelings to decide which one of the laws that I will follow, which ones will I not follow. A court order is a court order, and the necessary actions must be taken, particularly from our leader, from our president, who's supposed to guide us. So that culture of ignoring court orders and just, going rogue, doing whatever you want to do, cutting back on devolution, bringing new entities such as NMS, it's the same culture we are seeing happening in the sports industry. When Amina wakes up one day as the cabinet secretary and decides, I'm going to have a committee without following the proper processes of disbanding FKF. It's the same thing.
Okay. It's interesting times we live in, but one thing is of utmost importance: the Constitution, the rule of law, which shouldn't be construed to favor one particular party. But Gloria, let's shift focus. And the Daily Nation, as I'd mentioned, goes big with the youth. The rise of the youth, quote unquote, with big dreams of leadership. Aspirants are eyeing different positions in next year's election and banking support from their peers and hoping to break the jinx of dismal performance in past contests. And we have a whole spread of young, ambitious individuals who are eyeing various positions. I was hoping you'd be among them, Gloria, but let's talk about the subject matter right here. Despite legal provisions that usually promote the involvement, the participation in governance of youth, their representation continues to be dismal and underwhelming. Do you think 2022 is the time where we'll get adequate representation amongst the youth in the country when we go to Bunge? Well, what's your take on this?
Jesse, I haven't featured in that newspaper. I don't have the paper with me. You're sure my name is not there? Then which youth is there if my name is not there?
Anyway.
This is what I think. I actually think it's an exciting time to be a youth, particularly if your interests are in getting into active politics. Of course, there are a lot of barriers, and I can't wait to actually get my newspaper so I can read through what the article is stating. There are a lot of barriers, there are a lot of challenges. Me being in that field right now, and actually I can tell you firsthand how it's a challenge. But what I like about it's like a current, it's like a wave, is that the youth are actually not sitting on the sidelines, They're saying, okay, even if I don't have resources or anything, let me actually try and buy. And it's been such a long time to get to this place where youth can confidently, actively put themselves out and say, I'm going to buy. When you look at the elections on 2007, 2008, we barely had any youth actually going out and saying, I'm looking for a seat. But in 2013, was it 2013? That's when the youth wave really was awakened. And sometimes I credit that to the duo, to Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, playing the youth card and, matching ties and things like that. And what's refreshing also is that, with the entrance of the youth into this space, into the active politics, into elective politics, what that does is, we've had conventional ways of campaigning. We've had the veteran politicians using their own ways, which have worked in the past, throw money at the electorate and, don't tell them anything. We've had these conventional ways of campaign, but with the entrance of the youth into that space, who understand that, now we have tools, we have social media, digitizing the campaign, understanding that you have to sell something. The veteran politicians are actually, they're on their toes because they have to catch up, they have to figure out how to blend in, still maintain the senior citizens as their electorate, but you have this big block of the electorate which falls under the youth that you still have to, convince. Yeah. And for me, that is the most refreshing thing, that the entrance of the youth into that space has forced the veteran politicians to actually start thinking outside the box. It's not just about throwing money to the electorate. It's not just about showing up in your big car and standing at the roof of it and waving. you actually have to articulate what it is that you are going to sell to the electorate, because the youth have already done that, and the youth are, they're finding their own ways to campaign, and it's refreshing, Jesse. I'm going to look for the person who wrote the author of that article and ask them why my name is not featured there.
Okay, let me ask you this, Gloria, just briefly. The biggest challenge in terms of penetration by youth into this political scene, is it the party nominations that offers the biggest challenge? Is it the money factor as well, or the general disinterest among the youth? We can't support our own, then perhaps that's a major hindrance. But what's your take on the biggest challenge in terms of entry into politics? Yeah.
The biggest challenge, Jesse, is money. It's money. Because with money, in most of these political parties, you can buy your ticket, into the party nominations. But aside from buying your ticket, with money, you can ensure that you are the strongest candidate on the ground by having a lot of active campaign programs and things, such that all these political parties will be the ones approaching you and asking you to vie under their political party. And with money, Jesse, you can also vie as an independent candidate. So the biggest challenge that we have as youth, we don't have money. And when you don't have money, how do you gather the electorate to even start telling them anything? Without money, how do you transverse your constituents? My constituency, Mombasa constituency, is very big. Without money, outrightly, you are unable to transverse that constituency and, be able to talk to the electorate from one corner to the other corner. If you didn't have money and you are buying for MP of Mombasa constituency, I can tell you for a fact that you might only be able to reach your ward, the ward that you come from, and that it's not strong enough for you to actually get the votes that you need to win. So that's the number one. The number two then is that we have veteran politicians who understand the strength that the youth bring into politics, and they are trying to suppress the youth. So you are constantly having to fight off these veteran politicians who do not want to see the entrance of you into that place. That's another challenge.
Okay, many challenges, but I'm sure they're up to task. Let's see how many actually make it to the ballot and past the general election come 2022. Kasim, I don't know if you're the veteran politician in this panel, but speak to the issue at hand. The ballot revolution, will we see that come 2022 from your take? And perhaps what the ANC party is doing to enable the youth actually clamor for these seats?
No. And time will prove me right. Gloria, mark this space. Watch 9th of August 2022. The youth are an enemy of themselves. Look, Jesse, what happened to the recent concluded registration of voters? Gloria, youth analyst. You call yourself a youth expert. Why couldn't you get the youth register? Because when you are talking about going into elective positions, it is through the ballot. An ID is given for free. Gloria, you are talking about money. Which money are you talking about when it comes to electing a youth? The ID card is given for free. The voter's card is given for free. The clerks were going to the polling station, to the nearest, so that you don't say there was no fare to go to the headquarters to register. You refused to register. 6 million of you, and those who already the register. You could elect your own president. Let me finish. I gave you your time, Gloria. Let me finish. With the 6 million new registered voters who are just basically youth, plus those already in the existing register, you don't have even to go to anybody's political party. You can form your own political party. How much does it cost to register a political party for the youth, Gloria? Get your facts right. What do you need? What do you need to vote for the youth? You don't need the veteran political party. You can register your own political party. And in this era of the media and social media, Gloria, I'm reminding you as an old man to the youth, you don't seem to realize your strength. You are always in social media. You have bundles. Basically, all youth now have smartphones. It is us who have Mwili Kamwizi. You guys have smartphones. You are always chatting all over. You have even friends beyond this country. Us, we don't have. But within this border, you can social media. Say, I'm standing for this position. Can everybody buy his own T-shirt to save bundles for 1 week? Buy your own T-shirt, brand in my name. I want this position, either parliamentary or governor or a president.
All right.
But where are you? You don't seem to realize your potential, and that is where your problem is you. So on 9th of August, I'm not expecting any changes. For us in ANC, we are the only political party who have an SG, who is a youth, just to motivate the youth. But are they coming up? They are their worst enemies. And this applies even to the women.
Okay.
The statistics and numbers don't lie. We are told that 75% of this population is youth. Then why should you complain when you have the numbers? And democracy is about numbers. It's not about money. It's not about ages. It's just about numbers. You have your own constituency. Can you concentrate on that one? Can you motivate it? The answer is no. Even Gloria does not seem to have a reason why they are not interested in politics. It's not about numbers.
Jesse.
Okay, Kasim, let's cross over.
Allow me. No, Jesse, allow me to respond to.
Yeah, sure. Before we take a short break.
Yeah, before we take a short break. First of all, Kasim, you're very wrong by saying, Gloria, why didn't you push for registration? I did, and I spent my resources, and we actually registered over. No.
Why?
We registered. We registered over 2,000 youth under my drive. So, Kasim, first of all, take that back. The second thing is when you say, why can't you
out of 6 million.
Okay. Let's have some civility here. Okay.
Kasim, you asked me a question, why didn't I push for registration? I'm answering you, I did, and we registered over 2,000 under my drive as Gloria. The second thing, when you said, oh, it's so easy, you don't need money, you just need to register a political party. I have to tell you, Kasim, I was the country manager of Global Youth Parliament that gave me the task to register Global Youth Parliament as a political party that is pushing for the youth. But what, Kasim, and I'm surprised you don't understand, is that we actually have a regulation and a registration of political parties that it must not discriminate against age, it must not discriminate against tribe, it must not discriminate against certain constituencies of people. And the moment I put in the registration of Global Youth Parliament as a political party, I was sent a letter immediately saying that on the basis that, first of all, it has the word youth in it, they cannot even register it. And you asked how much it costs. I don't think Kasim understands that even for a youth right now, to get even 1,000 shillings is an uphill task to get those data bundles. To register a political party is not 5,000 shillings or 10,000 shillings. I spent over 75,000 Kenya shillings in the process.
Gloria, are we our biggest enemy?
So, at the end of, and when you hear any person saying that the youth are their biggest enemies, and you've heard how Kasim has spoken, that is fear. That is the fear that the veteran politicians have. So what they do is they use the reverse psychology to sort of tell you, oh, you are your own worst enemies. Go and register your own political party. It's not as easy as what Kasim is trying to say. And when he says that at least in ANC, we have put a secretary general so that now the youth can be motivated. I was sitting with the SG of ANC in another forum on another show. And I told him, you know, they only gave you that seat because you're young and you're from Mount Kenya. Don't think that you are given out of merit. And we had such a big argument that today Kasim has said, at least we are giving the youth the SG so that they can be motivated or whatever. Gloria. So I was totally right, yes.
Okay. Gentlemen and lady, I'd like us to take a short break. Perhaps take a cup of water, tone down, because when we come back, we'll be speaking about politics of intolerance and the politics of donations as well. And it's bound to get even heated. So let's take a chill pill kidogo. We're coming back after